Hello everyone and welcome to my Amnesia the Dark Descent playthrough. I will be trying to go through this without dying a single time. That probably won't be difficult because I know this game like the back of my hand, but I know it'll be fun, that's for sure. I'm also going to be collecting every achievement and collectible in the game. That includes going through hard mode at the end. For now though, let's just jump right into normal mode. You're welcome to use this video as a guide, or this series, sorry, as a guide. However, I may be just rushing through it and not really explaining them much, so if you want a more detailed and in-depth guide, there are plenty of sources online.
Don't forget, some things mustn't be forgotten. The shadow hunting me. I must hurry. My name is Daniel. I live in London at Mayfair. What have I done? This is crazy. Don't forget. Don't forget. I must stop him. Focus. My name is... I am Daniel.
Righto. The first achievement we'll be getting once we start is called Nope. And you simply get it by just exiting the game roughly when that notebook appears. Make sure you press save and quit, otherwise you'll have to go through that thing again. Which, I've been stupid enough to do that before, so make sure you don't make the same mistake. And now we can actually play the game. Or not, judging by that lag. I hope it doesn't crash. These are tinderbox. They're very easy to find for the most part, but you need to find 151 of them for the achievement. Nice. The atmosphere in this game is amazing, and also, if you don't know, if you click this door, nothing happens. I thought a mass of red goop would cover the door, but you just hear a scary noise. Is Daniel whispering something in particular, or is he just moaning creepily? I swear he was trying to say something. It kind of sounded like he was saying, no, no, no. I don't think he was saying anything though, he was just being creepy. I've never heard him do that before, ever. Why did that actually make me jump a bit? I knew it was gonna happen too. It's always been a genuine question, wondering if there is actually anything in this mansion. Pardon. Castle. This is actually a castle. I mean, these doors opening and whatnot. Surely there must be something. I mean, I know Daniel's crazy, but Legitimately, that door opened. He didn't just pretend it opened, it's actually open. It's not a good idea to go into doors that open on their own, which is why I'm gonna do that. Yeesh. You didn't have to close it that hard. And where's that wind coming from? I suppose it could be coming from that closed window? Ugh. I don't know if this is Daniel's recollection or somebody else's, although I don't know why we would be getting it if it was someone else's. Here we are in the next area, which is more or less the same as the last one. I don't have much to say about these areas as I've not really thought much about them, although they are interesting and they are lagging my game currently, probably because of how much it's having to process. Also, my computer just sucks. It's not a bad computer, it's just really old. Oh my goodness, I've never noticed how many of these things there are. I call them things, but I'm pretty sure they're just cockroaches. They don't look like them to me though. Sorry about the silence, guys. I was just listening to the ambience. It's... if you just stand still and really listen to everything, it almost sounds like there's footsteps all around you, closing in on you. That or someone's invaded my room and I can't see them. Oh. Oh, badgers, man. I always try to catch that thing in midair, but I panicked this time. Feeling kind of giddy right now. I know it's kind of weird to be so excited by nothing but creepy ambience. I mean, I guess it's not that weird, but I don't know, there's a certain nostalgia to it. The idea of walking through a creaky old castle all by yourself. It's disturbing, yes, but calming in a weird way. Okay, when you invite the shackles, that's a different story. Shackles are one of the few ambiences that I don't find calming in this game. Those I find genuinely unsettling. Also, I'm not like that knowledgeable in architecture, but wood and stone put together kind of feels like it's just begging to cave in on itself. Again, though, I'm no architect. Oil does not count towards an achievement, but they are technically considered a collectible, so I will be tallying them up as well.
19th of August, 1839. I wish I could ask how much you remember. I don't know if there will be anything left after I consume this drink. Don't be afraid, Daniel. I can't tell you why, but know this. I choose to forget. Try to find comfort and strength in that fact. There is a purpose. You are my final effort to put things right. God willing, the name Alexander of Brennenburg still invokes bitter anger in you. If not, this will sound horrible. Go to the inner sanctum. Find Alexander and kill him. His body is old and weak, and yours, young and strong. He will be no match for you. One last thing. A shadow is following you. It's a living nightmare, breaking down reality. I have tried everything, and there is no way to fight back. You need to escape it as long as you can. Redeem us both, Daniel. Descend into the darkness where Alexander waits and murder him. Your former self, Daniel.
I'm sorry if you heard me audibly gulp there. I just took 3, I guess you could say swigs. I'm not sure what the word would be, but I took 3 gulps of coffee. And that might have come through on the microphone. I'm sorry if it did. That aside though, really interesting note by Daniel, my past self talking to my future self. Something he says, something about it would seem horrible if you had forgotten your hatred over Alexander. It's horrible either way, man. You're forcing your future self, a version of you that knows nothing of what's going on, into a situation where he's being chased constantly, alone, afraid, in some weird, dark, empty castle, and you're telling him to exact vengeance upon someone that you hate, but this version of you has no idea who that is. Either way, it's horrible. But also, what do I know? I have a lever to pull, and I'm gonna pull it. I kinda looked away like an idiot. For some reason, I thought something interesting would be over here when there's a moving bookshelf. But yes, this is one of the many neat features of this game. This castle is just a maze of mechanisms and puzzles, and it's wonderful. Now this I know is Daniel. It is quite tragic, but I believe Daniel's past was filled with violence, specifically towards him and Wood. A lot of his abuse clearly shows why his psyche is so fractured to this day. And, oh, I'm gonna shut up.
Alexander, is it inside the castle?
In a manner of speaking. Come, bring the lamp. You've been to the refinery, have you not?
I don't believe I have. Is it connected to the... what did you call it?
The inner sanctum. My most precious chamber, Daniel. And it lies well beyond the refinery. In fact, it lies beneath the very stone of Brennenburg.
Is it just me, or is this wall of flesh very similar to Carnage from the Marvel Universe, the goop he leaves behind, the symbiote? No, just me? Okay. Also, I've been ever so rude. Daniel's been leaving behind notes and I haven't been reading them. And some of them are gone. Brilliant! I'm ever so happy to see that. Interesting that he knows it has to be dissolved. And that it can't be torn down by tools. What's to say a giant hammer wouldn't take that down? This area is very different from the areas previous. Very peaceful and serene. And you can almost feel a sense of, I can get out of here. It's less caved in and trapped. Well, it is very caved in, but you know what I mean. It's less claustrophobic. This in particular, I really like. The sky's open. If you could just find a way to climb up there, you're home. You're scot-free. You can leave. But you can't. Daniel has nothing to get out of here. And yet freedom is right there. There's also a set of giant double doors over here, so let's give those a shot rather than the deadly sky ceiling. Do cockroaches hiss? I know that's probably a stupid question, but I've never heard cockroaches hiss, not nearly as much as these guys do. Anyways, let's try and aim for freedom here. Yeah, that's why I didn't think to go to the doors first. Whatever's chasing you, either it doesn't want you to leave, or it's accidentally forcing you to stay. Oh, what was the point of that? Someone boarded up these windows but left this one? They're unbreakable too, for whatever reason. Now, in Amnesia, the way the game progresses... Goodness me, what's with this lag? Anyways, the way the game progresses, you find a safe area like this, and then you find a roadblock, i.e. carnage wall of gross goopness. Well, when you come across a roadblock like that, you have some areas to explore. You need to find tools to create one final item and bring it to the roadblock, clear it off, and move on. It's very fun. I don't know if she's real or not. Much like Daniel, you have no idea if anything's real. You haven't lost your mind, but you're playing as someone who has lost their mind. Well, I don't know, you might have lost your mind and you're still playing. Point is, I wouldn't go running to any sounds you hear, you'll probably find nothing. First area we will be going is... Okay, there's no sign, maybe it's up here? Archives. Or that word, however you say it. I'm not sure what language that is, but I do believe this game takes place in Germany. This one I do believe is also Daniel. I don't know that for sure though, it could be someone else. The young boy may be Daniel, but the victim may also be Daniel, I really don't know. Heck, maybe he's one of the other children. I doubt that though, I'm pretty sure it's the young boy. And you know, I do call Daniel messed up for forcing this on his future self, and he is quite messed up, but it is not entirely his fault. I mean, that is no excuse, but it is... Violence seems to be a product of this time. Violence is always a product of our times, but the further back in history you go, the more widely accepted violence is.
16th of May, 1839. The unflinching African sun has continued to plague our expedition, making it impossible to dig until dusk. How Professor Herbert managed to find the location in these vast plains of nothingness remains a mystery to me. When I asked him about the tomb again, he told me about the legend of Tin Hanan, the mother of us all. An interesting story in its own right, but I can't help feeling there's more. Later that evening, we uncovered a passage beneath the dunes leading to a sand-covered stone structure. The professor was confident it was the tomb we sought and ordered the others to clear the way late into the dark, cold night. Tomorrow, I shall lead the men into the ancient structure, hoping to reach the burial chamber. No matter what the professor is keeping from me, the dig should yield something interesting to take back to London and the British Museum.
And Daniel's motivations for coming here are ultimately good in the long run, I would say. His motivations for all of this are good. The reason he's on this archaeologist expedition, I don't believe the game goes into full detail, but his sister is ill. And he's doing it for the money, I would assume. You know, maybe my recording software is just as paranoid of the dark as Daniel is, because whenever I go into the darkness, the game slows down a bit. I will be reading the notes, but I won't be putting on any silly voices, much to everyone's disappointment, I'm sure. I hereby offer my full attention and services to Alexander, Baron of Brennenburg. This contract will reign for a total of 3 years, when my freedom shall return to me. In addition, Alexander, Baron of Brennenburg, is to recommend my services at the Prussian Royal Court, and within the sanctum of the Order of the Black Eagle. May no man break this seal. Wilhelm, House of Garrick? Well, that was boring. It's simply just a contract. However, the name Wilhelm is important, and obviously the name Alexander is important. I'm not exactly sure what Wilhelm would have been. Maybe a servant? Maybe it said that somewhere? In my defense, I have a giant microphone in front of my face. You know, the sound of the monster in the distance doesn't do much for me. But these rumbling sounds, like someone shuffling through something, that gets me to quickly look over. Not that the monster sounds aren't creepy, they most certainly are, but I don't know, there's just something so visceral about the more realistic, I guess I could say. Grounded? The more grounded sounds? I don't know, you're much more likely to find an attacker making quieted shuffling sounds rather than moose mourning, you know? Moose mourning is still creepy though.
17th of May, 1839. My hands tremble as I write. I feel a need to document my tribulation, for I fear that my memory will fail me if I linger. Today, I took some men and ventured into the dark, ancient passage we uncovered. Our torches burned faintly in the murky air as we slowly made our way underground. The men were superstitious and fearful. They argued loudly, and I felt their strange language getting to me. I mustered my strength and yelled at them to continue down the slopes and broken steps. The crudely carved passage confused me. It looked much older than the 4th century structure we had expected. The twisting path emerged into a great antechamber. The walls were lined with statues unlike any I'd ever seen. Despite their unearthly quality, I felt a strange familiarity toward them, which haunts me still. At the far end of the chamber, a great slab of stone sealed off whatever lay ahead. I gave the order to raise it, and as I pushed through the narrow space, the heavy stone suddenly dropped, sealing me inside. I was trapped.
That would scare the life out of me, to be honest. Wouldn't want to be in a situation like that. You know, I may be assuming wrong, but a lot of people may assume Daniel to be cowardly. I don't think so. Yes, he is very afraid, but even so, despite all of his abuse, despite all his fears, his phobias, he pushes ahead to do these things. In the face of fear, I would say that makes him braver than most. And maybe even heroic too, considering a lot of it is for the sake of his sister's life. Dear me, I forgot. Oh! A book did not just scare me. A book did not just scare me. Anyways, I forgot I had a lantern. I never use this thing, I really should though. I don't use it because I like to tally up how many oils I've gotten, and if this thing goes to 0, I have to use this. Also, if I miss anything, I'm gonna be so ashamed. Before I move on through the carnage goop in the safe room, I will be checking to make sure I got everything. So long as you don't go past that area, you're always free to come back and find items you may have missed. I love how Daniel thinks, is there another entrance now? Where's a key? I should get a key for that door. It's... Where's another entrance? Now this is a man that thinks outside of the box. Okay, I know what I said about moose morning sounds being less creepy, but that did get me. Okay, who bothered to board this up? This crashed through an alarm. Someone died here! Something very bad happened here, and they were like, yeah, let's just put a couple wooden planks, it'll be alright. Seems it goes outside or something, there's a light there. If only Daniel was big and strong enough to bust through there, we'd be good. I'm always paranoid I've missed something. So paranoid I check under the piano. Why would there even be anything under the piano? Oh my gosh, whoever keeps playing on that piano should knock it off, even if they have amazing skill with it.
Much of the castle is old and hasn't been tended to for centuries. When the shadow arrives, it won't take long until things start falling apart.
We're just buying time anyway. Let's do what we can.
There isn't much to be done about the wars. We should reinforce weak structures. The ground will tremble and there's a risk everything will cave in on us, especially downstairs. Here, and there. Let's get the servants working on it.
I do wonder about the importance of pianos to Daniel. I'm sure every sound we've heard so far has had importance to him, otherwise he would not be hearing it. There is something about pianos that his memory has considered them important. Where do you come from? There's something about pianos that is important to him, I feel. Maybe someone... Oh, it came from over here! Well, that was rude, I was speaking. Anyways, perhaps someone in Daniel's life played the piano. Maybe his sister, or maybe even he himself played the piano. Or maybe he's just hearing pianos because they're creepy and the game developers liked it. I don't know. That's normal, by the way. That's supposed to happen. Don't worry about this. It's all according to plan.
17th of May, 1839. After pounding the unforgiving stone wall for what seemed like an eternity, I realized it was hopeless. I was trapped. I fell to the ground, gasping for air, trying to focus. That's when I saw a faint blue shimmer. My weakened body was heavy to carry, but I managed to push myself toward the enchanting light. It was waiting for me. Enclosed in dark nothingness, I felt myself drawn to the mystic light. I reached out, closing it in my hands. The faint glow escaped my fingers and began to spark brightly and spirit me away, unlocking alien memories of spiraling towers, endless deserts, and impossible geometry. The next thing I can remember is the grating sound of stone being lifted, the voices of the Arabs pulling me to safety, and grasped firmly in my hands was the broken pieces of a most peculiar relic.
And this is the beginning of Daniel's spiral down into a much, much worse life. Or better, I mean, you know, who knows what awaited him at home. This is much more fascinating. Now, you're supposed to break through this by picking something up, maybe even a chair or a rock, and throwing it in here, because apparently it's not breakable by hand according to Sir Daniel. However, as seen here, if you rapidly click it, it breaks anyways, so I don't know what that's all about, but it also doesn't matter.
You have to be swift when you activate the first one. You hear that? If it stops, you'll have to start over.
Isn't all this a bit excessive?
You can never be too careful, Daniel.
Yeah, I like it when Daniel writes notes. I hate it when Daniel reads notes. Writes notes. This is the most useless thing I've ever seen in my life. Of course there's a secret door mechanism. I'm losing my mind. I have to go back and check. I did check the drawers, didn't I? Man, if I still miss something after all this, I ought to slap myself. Now, this is one of the many puzzles in this game, but I wouldn't worry about them. You won't be scratching your head too much. This is a simple timing puzzle. It doesn't really matter which order you go in, but I like to go from this one first. And as you can see here, I'm wasting time, I'm walking, I'm barely paying attention, I'm doing a little dance, and even so, it opens. So don't worry, you have plenty of time. Now, I'm gonna get ready to take some refreshments after this, because of this stupid note right here. It's like 5 miles long. Darn knobbit, I can never get like 2 in a row. I keep trying to break 2 in a row, it never happens. Oh, there's big words I don't know in this too. Curse my illiteracy. Altstadt and Brennenburg Castle, 1801. Another region rich with lore is Altstadt. Deep within the East Prussian woods, for centuries, there have been stories surrounding the hamlet and its neighbour, Castle Brennenburg. The quiet forest-clad mountains dressed with scattered lakes is as picturesque as can be, albeit the area is haunted by the dark. Ask any local and you will hear proof of the widespread superstition. All travellers should indulge themselves in such conversations, since it will certainly serve as an exciting entertainment. All of them have their own twists on the tales, but there are some motifs that keep reappearing. Did I just get tricked into reading a holiday spot junk mail? What is this? It is still interesting though. It talks a bit about Brennenburg, and I guess this means we're currently residing within Altstadt. In fact, Daniel may have already mentioned that. Now this one's interesting. The Gatherers. This story reaches all the way back to the time of the 30 Years' War. It is said that soldiers who abandoned their duty got lost in the cold dark woods and were forever damned to roam the grounds. Their bodies, wrought by their tainted souls, have left them disfigured and empty of essence. Many have cited them over the years and described them as horrid revenants. They move silently through the woods, shying away from any beholder. They are called gatherers, as they seem to follow some ambition to steal living creatures. It is their prey which can be heard struggling inside damp burlap sacks dragged behind them, which reveal their presence. What dark scheme do they follow? Now that is interesting, and also terrifying. Monsters that kidnap? Well, that's not exactly original. Almost all folklore have monsters that kidnap. But this one, I don't know, there's something I like about this one in particular. A Visit Undone. Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa, the well-known erudite, visited Altstadt at the start of the 16th century. He resided in the local inn for a fortnight, as he looked for remnants of kingdoms past. During his stay, all the prominent members of society paid notice, and he is mentioned in many records of the time. One day he went to investigate a burrow in the northwestern glades, only to never be seen again. Heinrich is known to have passed away in Grenoble some 10 years later. He dismissed the notion of ever visiting Altstadt, which makes you wonder what really happened. Who was this mysterious man who visited the sleepy hamlet in the woods, and what happened to him? Interesting. Seems Mr. Agrippa found something either too scary to talk about, or and maybe it removed his memory? Or maybe it was just too big for the world to know. Who knows? Also, I really like the time-place that this game takes place in. It's a very old feel. I like it a lot. Goodness gracious me! I really should have got a bottle of water or something. The Immortal Baron. The Baron of Brennenburg lives a reclusive life with his family. Family, huh? At his castle nearby Altstadt. And like most of the noble birth, rumors are inherited alongside with the title. Researching the history reveals little before the castle was consumed by a fire in the late 16th century. Potentially related to Agrippa, I wonder? It was rebuilt by Alexander, a nobleman from the Rhinelands claiming the role of protector of the Prussian state. Alexander helped the region to flourish and remained popular throughout his presumed lifetime. The family has always been secretive when it comes to lineage and heritage. Therefore, the birth and death of Alexander and his offspring has never fully been recorded. This has fed the idea that the Baron is in fact the one and same who came from the west over 300 years ago, lived through the time of occupation, and joined the coveted Order of the Black Eagle, along with the great leaders of this country. Black Eagle, huh? Alexander, this guy's certainly an interesting family, but I've never heard anything about a family. He's an interesting person to be sure. Worth looking into. I haven't mentioned him much, but he is the guy in the flashbacks so far. Goodness me, will I ever get a break? Wilhelm and his fools have endangered my research long enough with their absent-minded handling of the human vessels. The sheriff is keeping a watchful eye on the forest and is killing my trusty servants. So they're killable then. It's just a matter of time until they follow the trail to Brennenburg. I need to lock Wilhelm and his men up to avoid further investigation from the public. The wine cellar will therefore be sealed off until the matter has been handled. Either the king's men leave, or they will starve. Whatever comes first, they can rot for all I care. Maybe I will feed them some wine. It would, in a sense, solve both of my problems. Alright. Interesting. Seems like he has something nefarious in mind for his evil servants. Speaking of nefarious, keys in this game are notoriously nefarious. Every time you pick them up, something happens. Watch. See? This is the other way in that Daniel was speaking of. And there we have the enemy of this game. Now that guy over there is much more than just a naked man, as you will soon see, because there is a special little secret you can get if you walk over to this cave-in and quickly turn around. Well, okay, that was unexpected. This is very unexpected. Goodness me. I'm sure you got a good look at him there. I have no idea why he chose not to appear. Man, this game is so good at making you feel like you're being hunted 24/7. It's like every time you make any progress forward, the noises behind you get closer, but never further. They're always in the same distance. It's like the moment you look, they've obscured themselves. It's creepy and it makes me want to run for the door. Much like the feeling of going upstairs but turning the light off before you go upstairs, and then you have to run upstairs as fast as possible because of the imaginary monster behind you. Except the monster is very real here. His time in the desert must not have been fun at all, as we can see from this. It's also perfectly describing how I feel now, after all those notes. And carnage strikes again, but with a different flavour of screw you. Because when you walk on these horrible blobs... Oh my gosh, the 1-2 punch? Seriously? I usually only get hit once. Anyways, apparently all is good. Now when did I lose so much sanity? Anyways, as I was saying, these things damage you when you walk on them. And I was originally going to do a no-hit run rather than a no-death run. But those things quickly changed my mind. I could just exclude them, but that just feels wrong. Anyways, madness is gripping him. Daniel, I mean. Which is why it's the perfect time to go into the wine cellar. It's also the perfect time for me to show you this. Right now, my sanity is on the brink. My brain rotted away. However, this game has a really great feature. Whenever you solve a puzzle or make progress, Daniel gains sanity. That blue light indicates that he has regained sanity. Head is pounding and hands are shaking. Not great, but it's a considerable improvement. Interesting. I never considered this, but yes, it is possible that someone had locked off the orb. Maybe even Agrippa. Or someone like Agrippa, a traveler that stumbled across something they know they weren't supposed to. I'm pretty sure these sounds aren't real. I don't think anyone exists here except Daniel, but...
Where did the Baron go?
Who cares? He left us enough wine to last us a lifetime. Or at least until tomorrow.
That wine probably isn't as delectable as they think it is, judging by Alexander's nefarious note. And also judging by the fact that no one is here. I can't exactly say I feel too bad, considering I presume these people have been kidnapping innocent people and bringing them here for a bad purpose. However, it's also not my place to judge their fate.
It's cold. It's so cold.
What I can say for sure is, though, that I do not like them. Check this out. That barrel, spoiler alert, that barrel will fall down and hit you on the head, but if you try to move away from that thing before it drops on your head, it'll solve nothing, and this is why. I booked a plane ticket to Taiwan and that thing still hit me. It makes no sense. Maybe Daniel's just that scared. Great, everything I worked for has just been demolished. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna cry. Just move. Thank you. Wonderful. Now my brain should be far better than... We're ignoring that and moving on. Something bad happened there. I don't exactly know what's giving me that hunch, but... We're going in anyways.
What's happening? Oh, it feels like my chest is going to burst.
My God! Wilhelm, do something!
Accept it. We're not getting out of here.
How can you say that? Alexander, you piece of shit! Let us out of here!
Fun fact, those people you heard suffering are presumed to be the Gavras that we see during the castle, maybe even just during this area. However, as you saw from that small little sneak peek at what the Gavras look like, if we are to presume this is Wilhelm and Co., then they have lost way too much meat to be the Gavras, I think. The Gavras looked pretty intact, all things considered. Unless the Gavras are quite hollow inside and this is all from in them. However, there are only two notable splotches of meat lying around. So maybe it's only Wilhelm that got turned. I'm not really too sure myself. Hang on a moment. It's presumed Wilhelm wrote this note. This is Wilhelm's station. And there's a residue that's been left behind. I'm thinking... Is it possible that Wilhelm may have killed the injured co-workers, I guess you could say, after turning into a beast himself? Who knows? What I do know though is that my throat is about to become much more hoarse. My name is Wilhelm, House of Garrick. These are my final words, my confession and testament. 2 years ago, I was summoned to the castle Brennenburg. As most of the aristocracy, I was curious about what this supposed Knight of the Order could want from me and accepted the invitation. The Baron was friendly and offered me a proposition. It dawned on me that the nature of this contract was sordid, and the reason I was chosen was because of the follies of my past and not the honors I've been rewarded with during my time as a soldier. Oh, and not the honors I've been rewarded with during my time as a soldier, it's all one thing. I was to kidnap healthy humans upon his slightest whim and do so without asking questions. In return, he would attest to my character at the royal court, advancing my position within noble society. I would like to claim that I struggled with my decision, but it came swiftly and I accepted wholeheartedly. Ever since that day, I've brought men, women, and children to Brennenburg. I can't remember the numbers, but there were many, perhaps even 100, none of whom were ever seen again or heard from again. Tonight, the Baron invited me and my men down to the wine cellar to celebrate our work. I had my suspicions as we descended the stairs, but he insisted and joined us in a toast. The wine tasted fine and my men drank without restraint. So begins the punishment for our sins. The Baron has locked us up and returned upstairs. Forgive me for what I have done. I was weak and fell into his diabolic ways. My men are screaming. Their skin has been pierced by their own tangled bonds. I feel my insides revolt against their God-given nature. Blood has begun to pour from my eyes, and I can no longer. The rest is cut off. Very, very interesting indeed. I do believe Wilhelm. Considering he lasted longer than them two, they probably drank more wine than him, but I have my suspicions that Wilhelm has become one of the gatherers rather than died like those two. I love how there's a map of the area in case you get lost. It is quite a complex little area. Yeah, it's locked anyways. Oh wow, they love to creep you out if an enemy is near. But don't listen, okay? There is no enemy near. What there is near, however, is laudanum, and it's right here. This heals you. I won't be needing it. I never need to be healed. Don't worry about that guy. He starts walking instantly. All you have to do is walk backwards, and by the time you hear that door noise, he's gone. Goodness me, were you so scared by rocks that you had to demolish my sanity like that? I'm sorry, that was embarrassing. It took me way too long to pick that up. If you ever want to stop yourself from passing out, just bring out the lantern for a bit until he calms down. The footsteps may be one of my favorite of the ambient sounds. The flies may be one of my least favorite ambient sounds. Oh, you love to see it. Sanity. I almost missed you. I'm so glad I'm paranoid. I never thought I'd say that. But I am so glad I'm paranoid. These footsteps I do believe are real. They could also easily be hallucinations, but I think they're real. Because there are actual creatures among the area. Three days in Algiers, that must have been a task. Carnage unfortunately strikes again, which means I'm about to be beaten to a pulp. Well, at least it was only one. That's a vast improvement. And now, guys, we have finally made it, the laboratory. This is the last area that you have to go before you can move on past the roadblock. I wouldn't go near there unless you want to lose your sanity. It just yells at you really loudly. I have no idea what's yelling, what could have such vocal cords to cause that. I presume it to be the shadow. A baby? Why is there a baby here? What? Sure. A baby must just have significance to Daniel in some way. I guess. The lack of a chimney to properly vent the fumes from my most recent experiments has taken its toll on many of my less stable ingredients in storage. Some seem unaffected, but many are stained by the fumes and will be difficult to salvage. I shall do what I can and move them to the wine cellar. I see. So this is just a hint telling you to go to the wine cellar. I do hope no one was experimenting on babies. I hope that's not what that's trying to say. Children was bad enough. Heck, men and women were bad enough.
There should be more coop racks. Let me see. And one part aquafortis.
Sorry about that. I collected a tinderbox during Alexander's, brain scratching there. I don't like to collect things during the flashbacks. One, because it feels kind of distracting, and two, you can't really see very well during it. But, you know, you should have still seen it. Oh yes, sweet, sweet sanity wash over me like an ocean wave. Which tends to be quite violent, so I could have phrased that better. Give me a break. This is my third attempt to produce artificial vitae. The former compounds lack the potency I need, but I sense I'm close. Calamine and orpiment are a given, and the cuprite binds them well. This time I will attempt aqua regia instead of aqua fortis, in hopes it will produce an even more... in hope it will produce a more even solution. The experiment was unsuccessful. The solution is highly acidic and proves impractical to put to any use except as a detergent. Organic tissue reacts especially violently to the solution and should be handled with the greatest care. I might be able to use the recipe, but I'm losing hope that I will find an alchemic solution to my predicament. Very, very interesting. I can't go into too much detail yet, but Alexander seems to have gone for a more peaceful and humane form of what he was going for, which I didn't know. That is very interesting indeed. The fact that he tried to go for an artificial way first. That's a detail I'm very glad to have found out. Speaking of Alexander, he has left his own notes around the place in the form of memory capsules, which unfortunately are not voice acted. Brilliant, okay. One day I will return. If it wasn't for the thought of you, my love, I wouldn't be able to go on. When I find myself doing terrible things, I take comfort in you. As long as I am able to think of you and long for life together, I know I'm better than the others. I weep for them. They lust for power without restraint, where I only crave fair judgment and a safe return. I wonder about these others he's talking about. And also this person he longs for. Interesting. Also, people don't usually include them in, well, anything for some reason, even though I find them very interesting. I will be including them in the collectible tally, so you should be able to see them all. This is one of my favorite puzzles, and I'm very excited. Well, it's not really much of a puzzle. It's just... oh, it's fun. It's fun. Okay, ignoring that. It's simple, but so fun. I feel like this is a lost art in games these days. Small, interactive gimmicks like this. I mean, even the physics-based system that this game has. I feel like games don't do things like this anymore. But hey, I could just be a hippie. I haven't really checked that much out these days. Hippie's not the right word, is it? I'm sure there's another word for it. Also, I've been ignoring Daniel's ramblings, but he does ramble if you lose too much sanity. Saying that though, I'm only stage 2 sanity loss. I don't know what he's on about. Now, the fun thing about this, there's two ways to solve this. One, there's the normal way that everyone uses. There's also this way though, which I only found recently. Also, I love how they just magically fix themselves. I'm gonna assume that's another hallucination. I always go this way because it's more fun, but... okay, he was moving on his own there. Anyways, but you can always use this way if you want. Interesting, what is he talking about? Is he referring to the pieces of the orb? Carnage strikes again, and I find myself meandering through a goopy minefield which will inevitably hit me and annoy me as a result. restraining my infinite temper, we will now move on. To the refinery. And here we go, my favorite part of the day, sanity. Now before we move on, this is your last chance to go back and collect anything. So I'm gonna pause here and just end this video here and see if I can find... Goodness me! Temper, be still, temper, be calm. I'm gonna see if I missed anything, and then I'll get back to you in the next video and we'll move on. Or we'll move back if I missed anything, but I don't think I have.